Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 30th anniversary, and it's from one of the best debut albums, in my opinion, in death metal. In my opinion, one of the most underrated and underlooked bands in just the whole genre. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be talking about Dawn of Possession by Immolation. This is the band's debut album released in July of 1991 through Roadrunner Records. Now, everybody should have at least heard of Immolation if you're a fan of death metal. Everybody should know who they are if you love it, death metal. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Death metal band from New York that formed in 1986, and originally they were called Rigor Mortis, formed by Andrew Sakowitz, who is their bassist and vocalist, Dave Wilkinson on drums, and Rob Vigna on guitar. And they've recorded a couple demos before this album under the Rigor Mortis name called Decomposed and Warriors of Doom. And then Andrew had left the band in early 1998, and then they have their current bassist and lead vocalist Ross Dolan, who's still in this band to this day. And it was also, they changed their name to Immolation. And then they put out some studio like demos around 88 and 89, and they pretty much were in like the whole like underground death metal scene with other bands like Incantation and Mortician, bands like that. And then they got a deal with Roadrunner Records. They discovered them, and in 1991 they released Dawn of Possession. And I honestly think 1991 was a great year for like debut albums. Between that and Effigy of the Forgotten by Suffocation, just some really great debut albums that come out from that period. Let's just talk about like the production on this album. It's just very raw sounding, just very in your face death metal. Everything about this album is just perfect. In my honest opinion, I think this is probably the best Immolation album and probably my favorite if I'm going to be biased. The vocals, like Ross Dolan's vocals, just sound really sick. It just, I don't even know how to describe it. And then the guitar playing from Rob Vigna and Tom Wilkinson, just the guitar duos and just the leads and riffs are great. The bass is pretty audible. Here, it really just cuts through with the guitars and then the drums. And the drumming wise, Craig Smalowitzki, he does a great job on the drums. He pretty much keeps the beat. So without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Into Everlasting Fire, which starts the album off with a bang. No bullshit, no intro, no slow build up, no nothing. Just four just explosive power chords and then just a really frantic riff. And it's just a perfect way to just start off this album, just assault your ears with just fucking sheer brutality. A great way. Next up is Depotent Souls, which I think is a great song to follow up after the great opener Into Everlasting Fire. After some build up, the song just gets back into like face melting speeds that are just present, and then it just kind of dips back a little bit with some mid-tempo stuff, which just keeps it fresh as well. Then we get to the title track of the album, Dawn of Possession. Now, this is pretty much the second shortest song on the album, which is as like only a few seconds over 3 minutes, and just the mostly continuously speedy song on the album, only going anything below fast for like a few seconds before just getting right back into it. Great song. Next song on the album is called Those Left Behind. Now, this song, it kind of, after Into Everlasting Fire, Depotent Souls, and Dawn of Possession, Those Left Behind sort of like provides the listener with sort of like a break from just uninterrupted insanity. It starts off a little bit of like a slow, ominous riff, and then it just slowly speeds up to like a mid-tempo song, and then it just ends with just an eerie dirge. I think it's pretty much a little bit of an experimental vibe, sort of like just catch you right off guard after 3 songs. I think that's a pretty good trick if you ask me. Then we move on to Internal Decadence. Now, this song is the shortest song on the album. It's kind of similar to the title track, but it still also keeps a bit varied in just the onslaught. And this album just continues with a similar pattern with using like different variation throughout the songs in a fashion that just keeps any part of the album from being just a little bit repetitive. And then here we are with the half of the album. Now we're on to the second half of the album, and starting things off is track 6 called No Forgiveness, and also in parentheses, Without Bloodshed. Now, this song is also mostly instrumental, and there's like a few lines which is just sung by Ross Dolan, and it's one of the best and largest solos on the album. And some really, I just love like there's like a really sick blast beats, and then where Ross sings, it's just fucking amazing. Next up is Burial Ground. Now, Burial Ground has some cool lyrics too, which lyrically I feel like it talks about how war destroys Earth, and it's another one of those songs where Craig just shows off his skills, which he does hit in pretty much every song actually. And there's like a break in like 2 minutes and 45 seconds, which is just simply amazing. Anyway, moving on to After My Prayers. Now, this is the longest song on the album, which starts off with a cool riff that just goes down with every note, and it just seems to be infinite. Like the first time you hear it, it just gets lower and lower until it reaches that high note, and it just feels like you're being pushed the stairs and just off of a building. It just gets up and pushed again. It's just the same riff is just repeated later, and it just isn't boring. It's just fresh, and it's a 6-minute long song. It's just very fluid. It's just very organic. Fall into Disease is up next. Now, this is another fast track, and it just follows into the same pattern as the other ones. It's just heavy and has some evil riffs and some crazy drumming and some low vocals from Ross. And then we close everything out with the song Immolation, the band's own title track, and I think is one of the Immolation's well-known songs. I honestly think that this song pretty much sums up what Immolation is about. Has some of the best one-liner lyrics called like Immolation Now Begins, with just some strong musicianship on the second half of the album, and you have one of the greatest death metal songs ever, with the vocals in my opinion being the high mark within the song. And I think it's a great way and a strong way to end this album. Now, overall, Dawn of Possession by Immolation is a great debut album. Just a great way to hit the ground running with this. So if I have to give this album a score, I'm going to give Dawn of Possession by Immolation a solid 10 out of 10. Great debut. And if you're a fan of death metal and you haven't heard this album, what the fuck are you doing with your life? So yeah, it's perfect 10 out of 10 album. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, keep it metal.